You aren't waiting for the right time. You're hiding from your own life. I know that's a hard thing to hear. Stay with me, because I think a lot of us, especially men, have been doing this for years without realizing it. We treat our existence like a rehearsal, like the real show is coming. Like somewhere down the road, when things are more stable, when we've lost the weight, when we've got the money sorted, when we feel more ready, then we'll actually start living. But that grand opening never comes. And the present? We treat it like a disposable bridge, just something to cross to get to the future where the real version of us finally shows up. It's time to stop doing that. There's a concept in psychology called temporal self-appraisal. It's basically the way we evaluate ourselves across time. One of the patterns researchers keep finding is that we consistently believe our future self is more capable, more disciplined, more ready than the person we are right now. We romanticize a version of ourselves that doesn't even exist yet. And because that future version seems so much more put together, we hand the important things over to them. The hard conversation, the doctor appointment, the apology, the dream. We say, I'll deal with that when I'm in a better headspace. But here's the trap. That headspace never fully arrives, because every time it gets close, we push that bar a little further. I've talked to men who have been getting ready to start something for 5, 10, 15 years. And it's not laziness. That's not what this is. It's fear wearing a very convincing disguise. The disguise of preparation. Here's the thing. This isn't a new problem. This isn't a modern social media hustle culture problem. People have been doing this for thousands of years. And Ecclesiastes, one of the most honest and raw books in all the Bible, calls it out directly. Ecclesiastes 11:4 says, "Whoever watches the wind will not plant, and whoever looks at the clouds will not reap." Read that slowly again. Whoever watches the wind will not plant, whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. The farmer who stands in his field waiting for perfect conditions, no wind, no clouds, guaranteed sunshine, never puts seed in the ground. And if you never plant, there is nothing to harvest. You don't get to skip the uncertainty and go straight to the fruit. What strikes me about this verse is how old it is and how precisely it describes what we do today. We're not watching wind and clouds anymore. We're watching our bank account, our confidence levels, our circumstances, our feelings. We're waiting for all the conditions to line up before we commit to anything. And Ecclesiastes looks at all of that and says, quietly and plainly, that's not wisdom, that's paralysis. The writer of Ecclesiastes has seen everything: success, failure, wealth, loss. It's Solomon. He got God's wisdom. What he kept coming back to was this: life doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It just moves. And you either move with it, or you stand in the field watching the sky while the season passes. We've been sold a lie about readiness. We think readiness is a feeling like you'll wake up one morning and everything will click into place and you'll feel ready, confident, sure, and unafraid. That feeling almost never comes. And if we wait for it, we wait forever. Real readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. The people who start things, who actually begin, they're not less scared than you. They're not more sure. They just stopped requiring certainty before they moved. In Minecraft terms, you can stand at the edge of a cave for as long as you want, checking your inventory, making sure you have enough torches, but the only way to actually learn what's down there is to go in. And yeah, you might not have everything you need. You might lose something, you might have to turn back, but you will know more about that cave and more about yourself than the person still standing at the entrance. I want to speak to the men watching this for a second, though everything I'm saying still applies to everyone. Men are often taught, implicitly, not always spoken out loud, that starting something you don't finish is worse than never starting at all. That vulnerability is a weakness. That asking for help is a sign you weren't ready in the first place. So we wait. We wait until we can do it perfectly, until we can do it alone, until we can guarantee the outcome. Because the alternative, trying and failing in front of people, feels unbearable. But here's what that does over time. It quickly shrinks your life. You stop applying for things, you stop reaching out to people, you stop saying what you actually feel, you become very good at surviving and very bad at living. And then one day you look up and wonder where the time went. That's not a failure of character. That's a failure of the story you were handed about what strength looks like. Real strength isn't starting when you're ready. Real strength is starting when you're terrified and doing it anyway. Here's something nobody talks about enough. Waiting has a cost. It feels safe, it feels like you're protecting yourself, but every day you spend waiting is a day you spend not living the life that's actually available to you right now. The relationship you could be working on, the person you could be becoming, the conversation you've been avoiding, the things you've wanted to try for years. Time doesn't pause while you get ready. It just moves. And it takes with it things that can't be recovered. The farm in Ecclesiastes doesn't get the season back. Once the planting window closes, it closes. You can't negotiate with a missed harvest. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm saying it because I think sometimes we need someone to look at us in the eye and say, the cost of inaction is real. It's just quieter than the cost of failure. Failure is loud. You feel it immediately. But waiting is slow. It takes years off your life in ways you don't notice until you're counting them backwards. So, what do you actually do with this? You plan something, even in uncertain weather. But what the verse is really asking, you plan something, even in uncertain weather. That's what the verse is really asking us. Not blind recklessness, not ignoring wisdom, but accepting that you will never have perfect conditions and planting anyway. You start small, embarrassingly small. You don't need a plan, you don't need momentum, you don't need to feel ready. You just need to do one thing. You just need to do one thing today that the version of you who was waiting wouldn't have done. Send the message, make the call, write the first sentence, show up for the workout even if it's 15 minutes. Have the conversation you've been circling for 3 months. Not because it'll be perfect, not because it will go exactly how you hoped, but because movement is how you break the spell. There's a quote I've been sitting with from William James, one of the founders of modern psychology. He said that action seems to follow feelings, but actually, action and feeling go together. And by regulating the action, which is under more direct control of the will, we can indirectly regulate the feeling. In plain language, you don't need to wait to feel ready, then act. You act, and then you start to feel ready. The feeling follows the movement, not the other way around. Ecclesiastes knew it, psychology confirmed it thousands of years later. The seed goes in the ground before you know if the harvest is coming. Ecclesiastes knew it, psychology confirmed it thousands of years later. The seed goes in the ground before you know if the harvest is coming. If you've been sitting in a waiting room you built for yourself, I want you to hear this. There is no perfect moment. There never was. The life you're waiting to start is the one you're already in. The ground under your feet right now, this is it. Not a rehearsal, not a bridge. Don't watch the wind. Don't wait for the clouds to clear. Plan something. This is the tall grass, and we walk through it together. Not because we know what's on the other side, but because standing still isn't actually safe. It just feels like it. Take one step this week, just one. And if you want, come back and tell me what it was in the comments. I genuinely love to hear it. I'll see you in the next one.